Alright guys, Rich here from the RC Network, and this is going to be the intro video to my Axial Yeti build. Now I plan to make the absolute ultimate Axial Yeti that you can find out there. As you see in front of you, you have basically the skeletal remains of an Axial Yeti, or Sasquatch, or whatever you want to call it. I basically plan to go to some of the best manufacturers out there in the RC world, and just turn this thing to an ultimate U4 slash durability slash fast rig. This thing will have awesome speed, torque, durability, and just it will look damn good. So stay tuned throughout the series. This will be the intro video, and then right after this it'll go into some parts that I'm using, and then at the very end of this video you will see how those parts turned out. So without further ado, check this out. There's no mistake that Vanquish Products makes absolutely the best products on the planet for aftermarket RC items. Definitely with their material quality, their end quality of the product, just the finished quality, and overall looks of it. You just can't go wrong with picking up some Vanquish products. Now, I went ahead and picked up quite a bit of Vanquish products, and this actually isn't all of it. I have a couple items still on the way here to the RC Network, and I do have some other end products that will be going on my Axial Yeti project that aren't kind of part of the chassis or the Driveline. So stay tuned for that on a future episode. But wanted to go ahead and show you some of the products I picked up and the colors, and also what they're used for. So in the end, definitely Vanquish Products, it comes with a premium. They're not cheap, and once you pick up all of the items you need to complete the project, it's a lot of money. So this may not be for everyone out there to pick up, but it sure as hell looks damn good, and it's going to perform the way I'm looking for it to perform. So went ahead and I picked up lots of items for the rear of this, and basically the Yeti is a Wraith on the rear and an Exo on the front. So you can pretty much not go wrong by picking up some of those items, but just double check your listings from your manufacturer websites just to make sure that you are getting the right items. And pretty much I've done my homework here, so let's go ahead and start showing you some of the items. Now, I went ahead and I picked up the Axial Wraith rear axle. This thing is just so huge. I was looking at the Curry, but I definitely wanted to have the beefiness of this Wraith axle on the rear. So offset pumpkin, and it should definitely do a good job on my Axial Yeti. So with this, this isn't all that you need for the rear. There's lots of other parts that you have to buy to make this one item work. So there's going to be links in the video description to check out which ones I picked up. There's different colors available, but I pretty much picked these up from a myriad of different places, including A-Main, RPP, and actually Vanquish Direct. So check out what's available. There was a lot of availability issues when I first picked these up, so I had to kind of pick and choose as far as colors and things like that. So definitely the rear axle, definitely the way to go. With the rear axle, you do need the trusses. This is going to be for a 4-link. Unfortunately, you do get both of them for the front and rear, so I'm going to have an extra, but maybe that'll be for another build down the road, but it gives you lots of hardware. And then the truss that sits on top of the axle for the links. So next, this is the bottom link. I picked these up in the kind of gunmetal gray look, and I'll show you later, kind of why I picked up the gunmetal gray. But this is the axle link mount that goes, I believe, on the front of the axle. So picked up those. Also, you're going to need these. This is kind of like the diff retainer, or the bearing caps to go on the inside of that axle. Also in the gunmetal gray. I just kind of stuck with the gunmetal as kind of like a highlight color on the silver, only because the silver wasn't available. So next thing here, this is going to be the diff cover. I picked up this one and also a hot racing one just to give me some color difference, but this is also the gunmetal gray. And this is the 3D version, I believe. They have like a smooth version and the 3D. I like the 3D a little bit better. Just looked a little bit more in-depth instead of that smooth version. Also with the rear, you do need the lockouts. These things are just super heavy duty. These go on the very end of the axles, right before your 12mm hexes, but that is the rear lockouts, also in silver. Like the silver color for those. I think the gray was out of stock. And then lastly, for the rear axle, this is going to be the rear floating locker for the rear. So this is going to lock out the rear just like you would want to have in a solid rear axle Yeti. So went with the Vanquish one just because it would pretty much work if I'm using all other Vanquish items on that rear axle. So, but all in all, on that rear, there's a little over $200 spent just on that rear axle with the Vanquish products. Now, with that, I did pick up the trailing arms. This was definitely a hard item to find at first. Ended up getting these directly from Vanquish. Got the silver version, just keeping with my silver theme, and you know, I had to basically log onto their site and keep checking back to see whether or not it was in stock. But these things, you definitely can't go wrong. That's going to be the rear trailing arm to hook up to that rear axle. Lastly, for the rear, I did pick up the Vanquish titanium links. You can't go wrong with these as well. I mean, just super beefy titanium. They're stronger. You know, they're not plastic. They won't bend. You know, just has the Traxxas Revo rod end. So definitely a strong contender for that rear end. So I should have no issues whatsoever with the rear end of that Axial Yeti. Lastly, these other items are going to be for the front of the vehicle. I did pick up these front steering knuckles. These things are also in the gunmetal gray. I really like the way that the gray looks versus the silver, and I think the only other color they had in stock was just the red ones. So didn't want to add the red, but like the gray, so that's going to go on the front. And then lastly, the steering. I picked up the Vanquish steering rack. This is the silver version, of course. I think just silver and black they have it available in. Price on this wasn't actually too bad, being $25, but that should take out a lot of the slop of the front end of that steering on the Yeti. And then lastly was the double shear steering rack. These are just the pins there, and then also the bearings, because I believe the Yeti rides on bushings. So this should take out some of the slop and then also clean it up. Rides on bearings, so it should be a little bit smoother as well. So pick those up. I think I got these from CKRC, I believe, or RPP, I forget. Anyways, that's going to be some of the Vanquish products that I'm going to be using. Latter part of this video is going to show just how they all look, so stay tuned for that. Alright guys, and I'm back now, and I went ahead and got all of those Vanquish products installed on my Axial Yeti. And I've got to say that I was just so, into building that rear axle of this Axial Yeti. It was just so cool having just this top-notch quality of parts laying here in the studio and just assembling everything. It was just amazing. So went ahead and got everything installed here, and I want to show you kind of piece by piece how everything went together. Now, there are a lot of Wraith specific parts on the rear of this Yeti, but there are some Yeti specific ones as well. So, and we'll get to that to the very end of the video. So let's go ahead and cover some of the Wraith stuff. I went ahead and went with the incomplete Wraith axle that you'd find on a Wraith, either front or rear, and it just looks amazing. So, but it's not so easy to just pick up the axle housing and kind of go from there. You have a lot of other supplement items to get a complete look, as you see in front of you. Of course, the axle housing is the main piece right here. Got that thing installed, and it's just a work of art. Whoever designed that thing, I mean, my hat's off to you. So definitely a cool item here. The $70 entrance fee is a very minor portion to that rear axle and getting it the way it looks as you see in the picture there. There's lots of other pieces you have to purchase to make it all work and be a complete Vanquish rear axle. So another item here is this rear truss. Now these are sold in a pair, and I believe they are front and rear specific. So I have an extra front laying around here at the shop now. Next thing here, bearing capsules actually go on the inside and keep the bearing or the differential mounted inside of there. So you do need those as well. The rear lockouts are going to be these very far end pieces right here. You do need those as well with that axle housing. The link mounts are these little tiny, these are kind of the gunmetal gray ones I picked up here. That also is needed to complete your axle. And then finally, two more items. The diff cover, you can't put a plastic diff cover on a Vanquish axle housing. You need a nice one, and I picked up the 3D version. This one's very nice. There's also kind of like a smooth one available on the market. Lots of different colors. I went with the gunmetal gray just to make it kind of stand out and not look like it's, you know, kind of one molded piece of plastic. So that's kind of why I went with a couple of different colors on there, just to make some things stand out. Lastly was one of the items that I was most amazed by when I installed it, and it's this Vanquish floating Diff Locker for the rear. This thing was absolutely amazing. Definitely worth the price of admission to get this thing, because it actually locks those two rear axles into it. So very nice item, and I don't have to worry about anything in the rear now on my rear axles. So this thing is a super solid, and very happy I picked this thing up. I was going to just go with the stock locker, but really happy I got that item. So now one thing I do have to mention with all of the rear axle housings is you don't get all the hardware. And I was kind of amazed at how much extra hardware I had left over, but some of the hardware was missing that I really wanted to make it all look kind of complete. And I'll show you towards the end of the video what I mean by that. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the Yeti specific items for the rear. I did pick up the trailing arms, and this was almost like it was a lottery win when I got these things. They were out of production, not in stock anywhere on the planet. Finally, I just logged on to Vanquish's site and waited and waited and waited. Finally, it popped up, and I immediately added it to cart and checked out. So really cool item. I'll show you a little bit later just how unique they are. And then I also picked up the titanium rear suspension links. Just the standard solid titanium rods with the Revo rod ends. You can't beat for $19 to have those two items on the rear of your Yeti. So really solid. They went together just like all of my Wraith SEX10 links have in the past, and just two solid items. One other thing for the front, this was an exo-specific item. These are the knuckles, and I'll show you that a little bit later here, instead of picking up and kind of showing you back and forth. The knuckles, they won't give you the exact steering that the stock knuckles will, and I believe there are some Yeti-specific knuckles that are going to be released hopefully in the near future. But these ones got me going here, and they're super beefy, and there's no issue fitting them to the wheel set that I picked out. And then the last two things that I picked up was also another couple lottery wins. I did pick up the double shear steering rack. These things would be the metal steering post or aluminum steering post that actually ride on the included bearings. So instead of having the plastic steering rods and the plastic bushings, I'm riding on something that's a little bit more solid now. And then lastly is the steering rack. I picked up this silver aluminum steering rack. This thing was also kind of a lottery win to get this thing, but very nice thing, and it's going to stiffen up everything on the front end and eliminate a lot of the slop that's on the front end of this Yeti. So now let me go ahead and pick this thing up and show you everything that I installed. And I've got to say, I'm almost hesitant to drive this damn thing. So let's take a look at everything on here. We're going to start with the rear and kind of show you everything that I installed. So you're seeing here that rear axle housing, and kind of what I mentioned before, you do get all of this silver hardware with everything, but there's some pieces that you just don't. Like you can see the black screws going in to hold the links, also the black screws for the diff case. It would have been nice if I had all the silver that you kind of see everywhere else on the rear of this axle housing. You can even see they included this long screw right here for the upper links. So really nice, and it's just kind of odd that they included some hardware but not everything. So, and you know, once again, you know, Loctite is your best friend for this rear axle housing. You have metal to metal touching everywhere. So, next thing here is going to be the rear titanium links. Great item, you know, very inexpensive for what you're getting, being titanium and all, and just really secure that rear end. Next thing here, you can kind of see the trailing arms. Very unique item. They don't use a rod end at all, but they have kind of a unique item on here. I can't even think of the word, but it uses like an adjustable link mount to where you can actually adjust the tension of the link, and it has like a little set screw there. Once again, Loctite's your best friend, and it will definitely very nice item. These lower trailing arms are just super nice, so can't wait to kind of test that out and test out the rigidity of those trailing arms. So let's go on up here to the front, check out some steering and also some steering knuckles. You can kind of see there I picked up the gunmetal gray Exo steering knuckles. They went on with no issues whatsoever. Super solid. I mean, you can kind of see all the gussets and everything in them. Just really nice how beefy they are, and it should provide a really great item for the front end here. And then lastly, you're going to take a look at that steering rack. Not really much to see here, but you can kind of see how much more beefy that is. And I've added some other parts on here, so that'll be covered in a different segment. But definitely a nice item there from Vanquish. So, well, that's enough of me talking here. I've definitely got a lot of work done. I have a lot of work to do, but really, hopefully, these Vanquish items will add not only a great look to my Yeti, but also, you know, some added durability, and it should just be damn good. So, well, that's it, guys. If you have any questions, check out my Facebook page. I have very detailed photos on there throughout this build process of all the different parts, comparing not only the new parts, but also the stock parts. So you can kind of check that out as well. And lastly, comments, questions on down below, and thumbs up and subscribe. That's it for now, guys. Over and out.